Hey guys, welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're continuing down our list of the 50 best horror movies that you've never seen, with number 47 for us, but number 42 on the list, The Dentist. The Dentist came out in 1996 and was directed by Brian Yunza. For a quick synopsis of the movie, it's about a successful dentist, Dr. Alan Feinstone, who finds out his wife is cheating on him with their pool boy, Matt. Alan slowly starts going crazy and seeing hallucinations and takes his anger out on his patients. He ends up tricking his wife into coming into the office and puts her under the nitrous oxide and then proceeds to remove her teeth and tongue. After doing this, he poses her outside of his house by the pool where Matt approaches her, and then he sneaks up behind Matt and ends up killing him. Now, I gotta be honest, there are a lot of big issues I see with this movie. My biggest one just being the actual plot itself. I personally think the storyline is just kind of awful, and it's been reported that it took 3 different rewrites to get the script to be accepted by the producers, and it still took them over a year to even take on the project. They had to constantly keep rewriting the script, and I think they went through like 3 or 4 different writers. You really learn nothing about Alan and his wife's relationship before you see her cheating on him. It really just starts with him being angry at her over a stain on his shirt, then he accuses her of having sex with the pool boy. He ends up staying behind that day instead of immediately leaving for work, and actually catches her going down on him, which is enough to drive anyone crazy, but we have no idea if he's got pre-existing conditions, if he has a history of violence or kind of snapping. We have no idea. It just starts with him being angry at her. Later on, he ends up calling his wife to tell her to meet him at the office before they go out to dinner that night, and during that phone call, she senses something is off and asks him, "Are you feeling okay? Maybe you should take one of your pills." So now, like 30 minutes into the movie, we know that he has to be on pills, and we see him taking like a handful of these pills, but we don't know why he's taking them, what the pills are, what they're prescribed for. So it's again like this whole backstory that we don't know. And the little bit of Alan we did get to see before he found out his wife was cheating, he wasn't even that good of a guy. He yelled at her for picking up a pink shirt at the dry cleaner that had like this little itty bitty stain on it. So he kind of already comes off as an asshole. And then he's complaining to her that she didn't pick up his diamond cufflinks, so he can't wear his white shirt. So we're given a main character with no redeeming qualities who within 2 minutes of the opening sequence ends up going crazy. But we're not really rooting for him because he was kind of a dick to his wife. This made it really hard for me to be interested in this movie, and I think it takes up until like the 30-45 minute mark for us to even see any like gore or action. So the whole beginning part of this movie is setting up the plot, but you're not even like excited for the characters that you're being introduced to. And it turns out that Alan's just sort of a sleazeball. While going crazy and envisioning his wife cheating on him, he ends up overdosing one of his patients on the nitrous oxide and proceeds to fondle her, taking off her pantyhose, unbuttoning her shirt, groping her, kissing her while she's drugged. And at this point, again, we haven't seen any gore or anything, so you're just thinking, okay, I saw this guy abuse his wife before he left for work, and now he's raping one of his patients. Great. And for movies like this that follow the killer as the main character of the movie, you do need to have some type of redeeming quality or thing that makes you want to root for the bad guy. But Alan has nothing that they've shown that makes me want to root for him at all. I'm really just rooting for like the hygienist who catches on to him and what he's doing, but she ends up getting murdered by him too. So anyone in this movie that you're seeing that you're like, oh, this might be the person who's going to save the day, ends up getting killed or kind of brushed off. And when it gets down to the very end fight scene where the investigators looking into the crimes Alan has committed actually catch up with him, they find him trying to kill another one of his patients whose braces he's just taken off. She's miraculously fought him off until they get there, and they do end up capturing them. But again, you're never actually rooting for Alan to get away. You never want to see him kill someone or attack someone else. You really want this guy to get locked up because he's not an adoring bad guy. There's nothing about him that makes you feel sorry for him. And feeling like the bad guy has no redeeming qualities makes it a little bit hard to watch this entire movie where you just follow his storyline. I kept finding myself bored or not really interested in what he was doing. It doesn't help that the dialogue's a little bit cheesy, and the acting, which isn't the worst I've seen for B-list horror movies, kind of gets overshadowed by the shitty dialogue and just bad script. But the best thing about this movie does happen to be what my favorite thing about old horror movies is the practical effects. And the big reason that they were able to get away with such good practical effects for such a low budget movie is because they had help from Kevin Yeager. Kevin Yeager was actually a really big special effects artist for the time. He worked on a few of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, he did one of the Chucky movies, I believe he did like the 4th Hellraiser movie, so he did have experience in horror movies doing practical effects. Kevin ended up doing the movie a favor by staying on and helping with the special effects because they didn't have enough money to pay him. He literally just did it as a favor. The budget was so low for this movie that any character whose teeth got pulled out by Dr. Feinstein had to wear the same mouthpiece as all the other actors. They would just rearrange the gum position to match the actor whose mouth they put it in, but they couldn't afford to give each actor their own mouthpiece. And personally, when it comes to gore and torture, teeth are actually the one thing that really freak me out the most. I hate watching teeth get yanked out, the thought of getting like curb stomped and having your teeth break. It genuinely grosses me out. So this movie did have that effect on me of, oh, these are really gross scenes. And the effects were really well done, so I give it total props for that. But that does not save the shitty storyline, especially since it takes about 40 minutes in for you to even see some of these really good effects. So you have to again endure a setup of characters you don't really like to end up seeing kind of cool special effects scenes in the middle, and then like an intense chase scene, and then the guy's in a mental institution. So yeah, it's just not the kind of movie that I really want to keep watching over and over. It's not even the kind of movie I'd want to sit down and watch with friends to make fun of, because it's just that hard to get through those middle parts where there isn't any gore. Again, the movie was very low budget. I wasn't able to find an exact number on how much the movie did cost, but I do know that at one point the director had to give his own credit card to the art department because the producer refused to keep spending money on props. One other kind of redeeming factor for this movie, it was allegedly shot in only 18 days. So to accomplish what they did in 18 days with a limited budget and limited practical effects, I do give them kudos there. This movie does look pretty good for only 18 days of shooting. The movie itself was originally only supposed to take the course over one day, but with all the many rewrites the producers kept demanding, it ended up spanning over the course of 2 days, which I guess does give them the advantage of not having to really relocate and go to a bunch of different places to shoot. And I also read somewhere that this was shot just in someone's house, that they just reconstructed to look like a dentist office. And I found contradictory reports on whether or not this movie was inspired by real-life serial killer dentist Glennon Engelman. Engelman was a dentist in the early 1900s and did end up committing kills disguised as a dentist. He was reportedly a hitman, so he did a lot of his killings for money. He did seem very successful, and it took late into his life for him to get arrested, but I kept reading mixed reviews on whether or not people believe that this movie was written and inspired by Engelman. Dr. Feinstein's kill count in this movie is only 3 people, 2 of his hygienists and then the pool boy Matt. So my favorite kill of the movie is of the pool boy Matt. It's the only one that's really gory. He kills his 2 hygienists by strangling one of them, and then the other one he injects air into her veins. But Matt's killing is actually a good slasher. We get to see the knife come out, he cuts him up a bunch of times and stabs him. It's very bloody, very gory, and it's out of the 3 deaths that were given, it is like the coolest to watch, I guess. And something new I've decided to do is give some of these older horror movies a gore rating. And it's going to be on a scale of gorgeous, meaning super gory and great effects, to gore-tesque, meaning not so gory or just not that good of effects. And honestly, I've got to give this movie a gorgeous rating, mainly because of Kevin Yeager being able to contribute to this movie and help really make sure that the few gory scenes we did get to see were top tier. But do I feel like this movie deserves to be on the list of 50 best horror movies that you've never seen? No, I don't. Personally, I think this is one of the worst movies on the list. I say watch it just to say that you have, but you're never going to want to watch it again. This was only my 2nd time watching it, and I was just so bored throughout the entire thing because I already saw the cool effects, and it wasn't worth waiting till they showed back up. There is a 2nd movie that pretty much sounds like the exact same thing as the first. I've never seen it. It really is just Dr. Feinstein escapes the asylum and goes on another murder spree. But it still doesn't sound like it gives you any backstory on Dr. Feinstein or why he is the way that he is. So I'm not really interested in watching it, and honestly, I probably never will. If you've seen the movie, let me know if you believe it deserves to be on the list, or if you agree with me and think that it does not deserve to be on the list. You can always leave a comment down below, or head over to my Instagram, What a Horror. I'll be making a post to go along with this video as well. But I thank you guys so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you want to see more. I put out new videos every Friday. And until next time, stay spooky.